Hi everybody. Again, hope you're all safe and well in what are obviously still very strange times at the moment. As you'll be aware, obviously over the last couple of weeks and months, we've been doing lots of communication with you regarding our transition plan for our 2020 I7 cohort. Obviously, we'd normally have rollover in June and July. Due to the current COVID-19 situation, that has been unable to take place this year. So we've therefore had to adapt our plans for all Year 7 students to join in September 2020. Now, again, as you may or may not be aware, in the last couple of weeks, the government has released advice. Obviously, the government's aim is for all students to start back at school in September. So they've released advice and guidelines that all schools need to follow in order for all schools to be able to reopen to all year groups in September 2020. And due to obviously these guidelines, we've had to make a few changes to our transition plan, specifically regarding obviously the first couple of days and months in Romash. So obviously I wanted to just communicate this with you today to ensure that you're fully aware of what is going to be happening in September, and then just to make that transition as seamless as possible. Now, in order to comply obviously with the government guidelines, they've stated obviously that students need to remain in year group bubbles in school. Okay. Now in September, due to this, all year 7 lessons will take place in D block. Okay, obviously until these restrictions are lifted. Okay, so initially all Y7 lessons, no matter what subject it is, will take place in D block. Students will not be able to mix across bubbles in school. So year 7, for example, will not be able to access different areas in school. So obviously different year groups in school will all have different blocks and different bubbles. So that's why year 7 will only be in D block, and there'll be other year groups in different areas around school. So there will be year 7 will not be able to access different areas of the school site. In order to obviously try and reduce the amount of mass gatherings, there will be no whole year group assemblies. Okay, I'm going to explain what's going to be happening regarding this in a second. Year 7 will have allocated areas which they can use at break times. Again, obviously, different year groups will have different areas they can use to ensure that students stay in these bubbles at all times. And potentially, to help with these allocated areas at break times, we may potentially have staggered start times and break times across bubbles. Okay, but obviously, as soon as we come to that decision, if we make that decision, okay, we'll communicate that with you as soon as possible. Now, obviously, these new restrictions and guidelines, okay, have obviously affected our initial transition 2020 plan for September. Okay, so assemblies wise, all assemblies are going to take place virtually when you first come up. Okay, so it will be similar to the assemblies, for example, like this one, and like the ones you may have been receiving, for example, in your primary schools or in your feeder schools. Okay, so we'll be continuing to be shown. You'll be sat in your tutor group, okay, as you will be in the morning. So we'll be around 20-25 students in your tutor group, and then your tutor will put the assembly on the screen and you'll be able to watch it from there. Okay, again, just like saying you're in a smaller bubble in your tutor group than you would be if you were in a main hall assembly. Again, to ensure that the bubbles are consistent, okay, for year 7 students, when they first come up, all lessons will take place in tutor groups when you first come up. Okay, so usually, obviously, you'll have your tutor group, and then you would have been a different group for French, for science, for math, etc. But initially, again, to adhere to these government restrictions, when you first come up, all your lessons will take place in your tutor group. So no matter what subject, you'll be with your tutor group all day. Again, to just make sure, obviously, these bubbles are nice and consistent and to adhere to government guidelines. So obviously from that, if all year 7 lessons are taking place in D block and you're in a tutor group all day, obviously therefore staff will move around the school site for lessons and not students. Okay, so obviously staff will be in and out of different areas in school. Okay, but again, that's just making sure that there'll be less staff moving about than there would be if there were obviously students moving about the school. Now again, on that Thursday, because year 7 students need to stay in D block, okay, obviously we've had to adapt our plans for the first couple of days in September. Our initial plans, which were transition days on a Wednesday and Thursday before starting a couple of lessons on the Friday and full lessons on the Monday. Due to these restrictions, obviously we've had to adapt our plans because some of the activities, such as doing a school tour and activities along those lines, okay, obviously not able to take place due to students having to stay in D block. Okay, so on the first day, the Wednesday, I'm going to explain more regarding what's going to happen exactly on this day in a second. On the first day, students obviously will complete getting to know me activities with their tutor group. Again, just transition activities, lots of stuff to do with, for example, getting an IT set up, getting to know a tutor group, that kind of stuff, before they will start their lessons then on the Thursday. So students will start their lessons on the Thursday, okay, but obviously they'll remain. All the lessons will take place in D block, so it should be a little easier for the SMS students to get used. They'll not have to worry about going around school, etc. They will just be in D block initially. Again, obviously, despite the fact we've said obviously there are these areas in school where students need to stay, Year 7 students will still have access to the cafe, and thumbprints will still be set up on the first day. So obviously we're liaising with our catering staff in school, again, and with the finance department to ensure that on this first day, students are able to get their thumbprints sorted. So obviously that's something that's really, really important for students to be able to purchase food in school. So that will all be organised on that first day. Now, on the first day, students should still arrive at 8:30. As expected, in full uniform and with their equipment, so pen, pencil, ruler, as they normally would. Students will not require their PE kits on the first day. Now, initially the plan was to have an assembly in the main hall, but obviously due to government restrictions that cannot take place. Therefore, on that first day, rather than going to the main hall, students will be directed to D block. Okay, so remember that students, some students may already know where D block is, some may not. Okay, but we members of staff, should I say, obviously on top and bottom gates, who will then be able to direct students to D block. And then we will also be members of staff at D block, for example, saying, right, you are in tutor group 7.1, you are in this room. 7.3, you're in this room. Okay, so there's members of staff there to help get students into the correct rooms initially. And from that day, when they're in obviously their tutor groups with their tutor groups, they'll then complete these transition activities on that first day. Just getting used to life at Romash and getting all the basics regarding what they need to do. And obviously we understand, okay, that long term students need to be comfortable with the whole of the school site. So despite the fact initially that all Year 7 lessons will take place in D block, and obviously that's therefore the only area they can go into and the only area in which they need to feel comfortable, there will obviously be a time when we come out, okay, of COVID-19 and restrictions get lifted, and students obviously will be able to start a full timetable of lessons all around the school. Now, when we're able to do this, students, before they start lessons and before we come out of restrictions and lessons are not only in D block but elsewhere around the school, before we do this, Year 7 students will have a tour around the school to ensure obviously they are familiar with the whole school site. So obviously this was one of the things we had initially planned for our first day in September, but this cannot take place due to government restrictions. But it's still something we are still going to do. It's still planned, but obviously we'll just be a little further down the line when the restrictions start to get lifted. And again, eventually you will, as students, go into your different groups for different subjects. But again, just at the moment, to stay in those bubbles, you'll be in your form groups, your tutor groups, for all your lessons when you first come up in September. Our transition aim has not changed. So our aim of ensuring all students are comfortable with RTS has not changed. Just with the logistics regarding this have had to be adapted. Now we understand initially when it comes up, it is going to be a bit strange for Year 7. So obviously ideally when you come up, we want to show you the whole school site and get used to it straight away. But obviously again, due to government restrictions, that cannot take place. But obviously we as a school are going to be there to support you during these strange times, okay? And obviously our aim of ensuring that the transition to Romash is as seamless as possible has not changed whatsoever. Now, obviously, okay, today obviously we explained about some of the changes that are going to have to be made to our transition plan and what is going to be happening on that first day in September when you first come up. If you have any questions whatsoever regarding anything that's been said or any worries regarding with how his plans are to be changed, etc., please feel free to email myself. It's jbartle@romash.org, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or queries we may have. Obviously, as any new communication comes through from the government, we will then obviously inform you as soon as it occurs. But we just thought obviously we wanted to make sure that before we broke up for the summer, you were fully aware of how our plans have had to be adapted to ensure that obviously we are acting within governmental guidelines in September. Thank you again for taking the time to watch this assembly today. I hope you found it to be informative. Again, any questions, feel free to get in touch. Have a great summer and look forward to seeing you all in September. Cheers, guys. See you later. Bye.